Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited for today's show. Um, this is a person who means a whole lot to me. I've been talking about it throughout the week, and um, just to give you a little bit of backstory on what all's going on. First, I'll say hello to everybody. Miss Christy Yant, how you doing? Kels, good seeing you. Backwoods, how you doing, my brother? Miss Victoria, good seeing you. CTG, good seeing you as always. Okay, going back a little bit further, I had lost my leg. I had just lost my leg below the knee, and I was part of a little group in a local town that I was from, and I was that they had noticed that I had lost my leg and stuff by looking at my personal Facebook page and that kind of thing. And this woman reached out to me and was just like, "Hey, my husband's a double amputee, and I kind of know what you're going through. I've kind of been there, done that, and I can walk you through some of this stuff if you want. I mean, I don't, I'm not trying to be pushy or anything like that. She didn't want to be intrusive or anything, and she stepped up and was just like, "Hey, what kind of questions do you have? What kind of stuff can I answer for you? Because I've seen my husband go through it twice, and I really, I don't want to see you have to deal with anything like this. So, and she really helped me out, and that was a big thing in my life, and I'll always be grateful to her. But I was, yeah, I was super excited whenever she, emailed me back and was just like, "Yeah, I would love to be on this. This sounds like something that would be incredible." Um, Fast forward a little bit further into mine and her friendship, and due to some health complications, and she'll explain her story. I'm not going to do it for her. She lost her leg, and today she's going to explain a little bit about her story. And without further ado, I would love to introduce you to my friend. Everybody, please give a big round of applause to my friend Robin.
Hi,
Robin,
Josh.
how are you, my dear? You doing good?
I'm doing well tonight. Thank you.
Good deal, good deal, good deal. I understand you're getting ready to fly somewhere tomorrow. Where are you going?
Oklahoma. Flying
Oklahoma.
from Nashville to Oklahoma.
Okay, well, that won't be so bad then. So just a couple hours in there.
Yeah.
Good deal, good deal. So you're gonna be flying with a prosthetic tomorrow for the very first time ever,
Yes.
huh?
And my big thing is my prosthetic is a suction socket. So I need alcohol in my med kit. And I've got it in a little 2 ounce spritzer bottle, but I'm hoping they don't try to take it away from me because if my leg comes loose, I have to have it to put it back on.
Right, and water, hand sanitizer, stuff like this isn't gonna cut it. It's not
Yeah.
gonna it's not the same, it's gotta
Nope.
be that liquid. It creates like a suction, like a grab, what's it called?
It
Oh, I can
evaporates and causes the suction.
exactly. Yeah, there it's kinda it acts kinda like a glue sort of. So, that's I didn't even think about that. There's so much stuff that when you go to fly that I'm gonna have to do a whole video on that and kinda get into that because it's something I don't know a lot about because 'cause I've never flown.
Hmm.
But I live right down the road from BNA, and I know a guy that works there. I could easily just talk to him about it, and I'm sure he'd tell me, any info I wanted to know about it for the channel. So
Yeah.
that would be very, very cool. Well, I was explaining to the crowd a little bit about, what's going on and, who you are to me and what you mean to me. And you know that I love you and always meant the world to me.
I do
Um,
appreciate that.
you and Rob have always kind of, you stepped in when you didn't even have to and helped us out so many times, and we're so grateful for that. Um, so I would be curious to know, and if you would tell my audience a little bit about yourself and how did you lose your limb?
Okay, about myself. I'm 56 years old, and I lost my limb when I was 51.
Mhm.
Or no, I take that back. I lost the limb last year, but I had the accident that caused me to lose the limb when I was 51.
I
It was
remember.
Valentine's Day of 2019. My youngest daughter, she was 24 at the time, and I were taking a ride here in Rutherford County, Tennessee, and we were going down a back road, and I suffered my first ever epileptic seizure, and I
While
was driving
driving.
while driving.
While driving.
And so, but by the grace, we didn't hit anybody as we crossed the opposing lane of traffic down an embankment, and I wrapped the car around a tree doing 60 miles an hour. And they only know that because that's where it was stuck, the speedometer. They life flighted me to the level one trauma center in Nashville, Vanderbilt University, and they began the process of trying to put me back together. I had lost 21 bones were broken. My legs were both shattered. The right one,
Wow.
the right one was a compound break, so it was open and bleeding. And so I went into surgery immediately. They were able to, for a while, save both legs. And then I started having problems with the right one. And it got infected. And so they said, well, you know what? You need a new knee. So they put a new knee in. That did not go well. And in 2022, right after they had put the second new knee in, after the infection, I fell on my front deck. I thought my deck was wet, but
Hmm.
it was covered with black ice.
I
And I
remember
took
that.
yeah, I took one step and down I went and destroyed that right knee again. So that's when they decided, nope, we have to take it. And they took it January 31st of 2003 or 2023. So I have been a right leg above knee amputee since, well, for about 4 or 5 years now, 4 years.
Okay.
Somewhat. I'm not an amputee. I'm an amputee for a year and a half, but I haven't been able to use the leg for 4 years.
Right.
That's why they wound up taking it.
Yeah, I got
And
you.
so that is what happened. My daughter, she managed to get out with just a broken wrist. They had to put plates, screws, and pins in her wrist. She still has them. I mean, it was a terrifying experience, but I don't remember most of it. So I guess that's kind of good. You know,
Yeah,
my daughter
absolutely.
remembers it all, but I don't remember most of it.
Yeah, that's the brain's way of wiping out a horrible, horrible thing and just being
Hmm.
like, "What? What happened? I don't. Let's not talk about that." Anyway, our minds are weird like that, the way that
Yeah.
they work. What was your healing time like? What was how,
I lost the
from
leg
hospital to home?
I lost the leg the 31st of January. I was home February 1st, the very next day.
Wow.
And it surprised me because the doctor came in that morning and he pulled the blankets back to look at my uh, healing. And he asked me, he goes, who wrapped your leg? And I said, I did. It came off in the middle of the night and I had to put it back on. He says, you need to teach our nurses how to do that. Well, what he didn't know was I was a hospital corpsman when I was in the military.
Right.
And so I know how to do a lot of that stuff. And he asked me, he says, do you want to go home today? And I'm like, are you kidding? Of course I want to go home today.
Yeah. Why would I
So
not?
so they brought a walker to see if I could walk with a walker. I did just fine. So they let me go home the very next day. And when we were coming home, it was kind of funny because when we were coming home, we stopped at the pharmacy to get my medications, and the pharmacy was on lunch break. And I didn't want to wait an hour in the parking lot. So I had my ride bring me on home. And then an hour later, me and my sister jumped in the car and I drove down to the pharmacy the day after my amputation. So,
Man.
yeah. And then I didn't get my first leg until April 13th. And it was a lanyard strap attachment.
Yeah.
I didn't like that leg. I didn't like it at all. So, and you and I are with the same prosthetic company. You're with Matt Bulow, and
Yep.
I'm with Scott Moore through Matt Bulow.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
And
with Scott and Murfreesboro there.
yep, I'm with Scott and Murfreesboro, Scott and Nicole. And approached me with an idea for a new socket for me. It's one that Osher is making. It's called a direct socket because I was having problems with the top of the socket where
Mm-hmm.
it goes into the groin area.
Yep.
It was very uncomfortable, very hard to use. I didn't like
Like
it.
pushing up inside there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You don't have to go too much further, but yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah, Scott approached me with this direct socket idea, and with the direct socket, it is built right on my leg. I walked in at 9 o'clock in the morning. They put me on the table, and by noon, I was walking out with my leg. It
Wow.
was built right onto my leg, and the top portion of it, it's about the top 3 inches or so, is soft silicone rubber. So there's nothing digging into my hip or my groin. It's soft. It gives when I walk.
Okay.
And I have a Rio microprocessor knee, which it's taken me, like I said, a year and a half of walking in this thing to finally learn how to operate it.
That
It's a learning
swing.
curve. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
get you
learning
gotta get
curve. I
that
call it rock it and walk it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so it took me a while to learn how to use it, but I'm doing pretty good now with it.
You're not using any kinda hand, like,
No,
crutches or anything like that,
no,
walker or
no.
nothing?
At
I've
night,
seen picture, you're not using a walker for sure, I know that.
no, no, no. At night, I use a wheelchair because once my leg comes off, and I have to get up and use the restroom or whatever, I use a wheelchair. But during the day, I do not, unless I get extremely tired, and then I will take and use one forearm crutch and use it kind of like a cane. I do get
Okay.
tired because this is a very heavy leg.
It is. We and you have the same exact knee and everything, so we're right there. Bulow is a big proponent for that particular knee, so that's
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, we have the same, I mean, matching identical components pretty much, except for the socket. So
yeah.
that was gonna be something I was gonna ask you is like, well, what components do you have now? She has the same exact thing I do. So there you go.
Yep. I've got the Rio knee and the flex ankle.
Yep, yeah, so we don't have to show that. Do, now with you saying the direct socket, so do you not have a liner? Or is
I
it
do
just
wear a liner. I do wear a liner,
okay.
and it has one rib at the very bottom, one seal at the very bottom. That's
I
the
got
only
you.
seal on it.
I was seeing it
And
with the it
so
goes all the way around the base of it.
it goes all the way around the base of it, and
Okay,
it folds over so that I can actually wear socks with the suction. Because my socks are kind of like leg warmers from the 80s, they're open at both ends.
okay,
And so I'm able to put it on and then fold the seal back up over the sock so it keeps the leg on, and I can, adjust my thickness of my socks.
nice,
And so
okay, I got
that's
you.
one thing I do appreciate about the direct socket. And I think the only reason they call it a direct socket is they literally build it right on your leg. So,
Okay. Yeah, so it's similar in similar ways that they do the casting that just your standard casting more or less, but they're
mm,
actually building the actual carbon fiber leg and
that's
everything right
that's
there
correct. It's
on you.
laminated right onto your leg.
Wow. See, that'd be
So
something really cool to see.
it's kind of cool. And the other thing about it that I like anyway, without, because we don't have the pain, we don't have the difficulty walking, is that I can do a lot more than I could do with my first socket, the one where they casted me and it didn't fit and it just wasn't right.
Mhm.
And when I first got my leg, we had height issues. The right leg was the prosthetic was definitely higher than my left leg, and it took us months to get that right. With Scott trying to get liners in my shoes and to level up my height, and we didn't finally get that until we got this direct socket.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a lot of people. I try to explain it best I can on this channel that, how detrimental and how important it is to get it just down to the very millimeter. I mean,
Yep.
just because your height difference, walking and stepping and stuff, it can really throw off stuff. And you think, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's just like you're gonna walk a little strange, or whatever. Or it's gonna kind of, dip on one side, maybe not. So I can live with this. It's important to not live with this because what happens is you're messing up your body in the process. So it's very important, super key that you get everything dialed in as perfect as you can.
Okay.
So, but having Matt, who is a below the knee amputee, that really helps out as far as my end. I don't know about Scott. I don't know if he's an amputee or not, but I know Matt
He's not.
is. He's not, okay. So, he knows the difference of getting that just super dialed in, and, I know he employs amputees as well, so I'm sure back there in the
Yes.
shop that there's plenty of us back there that are, working on your leg.
Oh yeah.
So, they know, so his entire crew is amazing as far as getting it just perfect, and if they can't
Yeah.
get you right, they're gonna keep on pushing and pushing and pushing until they can get it right. So,
Yeah. I have no problem with Matt and his crew there at Belo.
absolutely,
I
that's
would recommend them to anybody.
well, they are a proud sponsor of this channel, so
Yeah.
we're super stoked to have it. Matt, we love you, brother. How well did you handle the pain of it? Did you do any kind of, like, pain, whatever, just your standard? Advil and Tylenol.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't really have a whole lot of pain after the amputation, but part of that was the previous 4 years leading up to it. I was in so much pain that when they took the leg and the pain went away, it was a whole new world for me. I was in recovery, and one of the nurses came up because she noticed I was crying. And she asked me, she says, "Honey, are you in pain?" And I said, "No, that's why I'm crying. It's the first time in 4 years I haven't been in pain."
Yeah, they don't understand that, or maybe they do. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So it didn't really hurt too much after they amputated. I
That's
have learned one thing I have learned is how to fall and fall
yeah.
properly. I think they should make it an Olympic event because I know I could gold medal at it.
Tuck and roll, tuck and roll.
Rock and roll. That's when my daughter was here. I fell, and she goes, "Well, at least you fall like a ninja, mom."
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, hey, man, you know, but you get good at that. Believe it or not, it's something very strange. And me, I grew up being a skateboarder and stuff, so you kind of learn to tuck that shoulder first and
Okay.
don't tilt your head in because I mean
You won't
you're
hit your
putting your
head.
head right there. You know, look away and fall kind of the other direction. So yeah, I was kind of had a leg up, no pun intended, on that whole front. So I was kind of used to falling and already, you know, already ready for it. Um, well, that's yeah, that's awesome. That well, I mean, I guess my next question that was kind of how has it changed your life for the positive, you know? And I guess it wouldn't be pain anymore, you know. Yes, you don't have a leg, but hey, you're pain free. So
I'm free and I can walk.
yeah, exactly. That's a lot of people don't understand too. You know, it's like it's worth it. Trust me.
And it's a personal choice. My children did not want me to have the amputation done because they knew that it was, a scary surgery. And I'm like, but I'm in pain. I have to have it done. I cannot live this way.
Yeah,
And my daughter, because I suffer from fibromyalgia also, she goes, "But mom, you're always in pain. What's a little bit more?" They just don't understand. They
yeah,
really don't understand.
and it's foolish for us to like try to make them understand because pain being such a physical thing, it's you can't describe it, you know, and unless you're there and living it, and you know, it's just hard to explain to people, and
Yeah.
you know. We are at our halfway points here. I like to just kind of stop and tell the chat hello and say hello to everybody. We got like 10 people in here that keep coming in and out. So I'm going to say hi to some people real quick. Hello, Miss Janie AR15, CTG. Good seeing you. Backwoods still here, hanging in there. Let's see, Miss Victoria. Good seeing you. Miss Artemis. Hello, my dear. Let's see, Kel's World in here. Belle. All right, Jarek, my man, Yankees for life. CTG still hanging in there. All right, good deal. Well, what when you're not at home, what is your device of choice? I mean, I'm sorry, when you are at home and like it's just relaxed time, Robin's hanging around the house. You know, do you really prefer crutches or like underarm crutches, forearm, your walker? Do you hop around?
When I don't have my leg on, I use axillary crutches or a wheelchair. When I do have my leg on, I don't need to use any mobility devices.
Awesome. Okay. So you're fully independent now. You can use
Yeah.
those hands for whatever you want with your leg, and man,
Unless
yes,
I get super tired, and then I'll use one forearm crutch. But I really have to be tired for that to happen.
right, right, yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. Um, with this is kind of an odd question for you in particular because you live with a double amputee long before you were an amputee.
He's got 6 years on me.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. So this question in particular will be kind of odd, but you know, kind of you know, makes sense, and it's still in the same vein of what we're talking about. But what kind of devices do you guys have at the house now, as far as like, do you guys have any kind of grab handles, or have you had to make any kind of modifications, any kind of changes, like shower, hallway, kitchen, anything like that?
Funny you
To
should mention that because when I go to Oklahoma tomorrow, we have contractors come in to remodel the bathroom.
Okay,
Because even though I, with one leg, can still get in and out of the bathtub, Rob cannot. So he has been taking showers for the last 7 years and can't soak his muscles, anything like that. So we're having the bathtub redone. We're having a walk-in shower, a walk-in tub put in,
nice.
so that we'll be able to have a seated bench where he can actually sit in the tub, take his legs off, set them outside, close the door, and take a bath.
Now that's like the deep tub that has like the big opening door
Yeah,
on it.
the
You sit
door.
in. Okay, all right, yeah, yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
it's
those.
like a mini hot tub in your bathroom.
Right, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking when you said that. But yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're having that
Um,
while I'm gone. So when I get home, I'll have a nice new bathroom.
fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed they don't mess anything up.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, don't, I work in that field and I know how that whole thing goes, and I know what one week can turn into, so, so
Yeah.
not trying to scare you, anything like that, but,
Well, they keep saying they're going to have it done in 5 days, and I'm like, I give you 2 weeks. That's how long I'm going to be gone. It better be done by then.
hey, I mean, they say that's what it'll take, it's what it'll
But
take.
that is really the only change we have made to the house, other than we had to build a handicap ramp out front. So we do have a handicap ramp all the way from the driveway to the door. And he when he goes out, he uses mobility devices. So we have a lift on the vehicle, and he has a scooter that was provided by the VA.
Mhm.
And we so he has to use that when we go out. And people look at us kind of funny when we're out in public together, because it's like you don't very often see two amputees together.
No.
And I recently had to take Rob to the doctor, and the doctor looked at us and he goes, "You both sporting hardware?" I'm like, "Mm-hmm." We get some pretty odd looks.
We're just really into body modifications, man, leave us
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, that's it, man.
Extreme body modifications.
That's it.
Wait, next week I'm getting my ear pierced, so,
Yeah.
look out. How do you deal with, like, you know, I know kids are a little bit different, and I guess you probably dealt with a lot of this with Rob beforehand, but the dreaded, "What happened? Oh my goodness, what happened?" With you guys, it's gonna be hard to say, real quick though, with you guys, I also have a sub question to that is, thank you for your service. You know what I'm saying? But with
Yeah.
you guys, it is different because definitely, and I have a million times over, thank you for your service, both you guys. You
Yeah.
very, very much. I mean, you both have served in the military, and I
I
thank you
didn't
very
retire,
much.
but I served my first term. He went 21, almost 22 years when he retired.
Well, God bless him. So I won't even bother asking that question, but we will stick with the in public, kids, stuff like that, people in general. What happened?
I love it when kids ask because they're curious. They don't understand. And little anecdote, I was at the car repair shop one day. It was mechanics. And there was a little boy. He was sitting across the room from me, and he just kept side eyeing that leg, but he was afraid to speak. And I could tell he was afraid to speak. So I told him, I says, "It's okay to ask." And he goes, "Well, what happened?" And I told him, I says, "I was in a bad car wreck. My leg didn't work anymore, and the doctor had to build me a new one." I said, "Just like your car is in there getting another part because the part gave out." I says, "That's what happened to my leg."
I
And
love that.
he seemed to understand it really well. And then I was at a gas station the other day, and a little boy, he's like, "What happened to your leg?" I don't have a problem telling him. But the parents were trying to shush him up and quiet him. And I asked him, I says, "Don't do that." I says, "He's just curious. He didn't mean to be rude."
Right.
And I love it when the kids ask. I had one ask me one time if I was an Avenger. Had another one tell me I had an Iron
Yes,
Man.
I am.
My kids call me
100%.
the Bionic Woman. So yeah, I now the questions from adults, I would rather that they ask than just stare.
Yeah,
And I've made it very clear that, hey, if you want to know, ask. I'll tell you.
yeah.
Because I'm not I'm about education. People don't understand. They
Yeah,
don't.
same
It's not
here.
something they usually see. Something I have noticed is I get more attention when we're out in public than Rob does because female amputees, I don't think are as prevalent as male amputees. I mean, there's just as many of us. You just don't see them.
Yeah.
And so they look at me kind of odd because I am a female and I am a full leg amputee. But yeah, I don't really have a problem answering questions. My son's girlfriend and him, they came over and they brought her little boy the first time, was back towards Easter. And he walked in the house and he looked at me and he says, "You only have one leg." I said, "You're a very smart little boy."
I do. Oh my God.
Oh, I did that one night too. I fell asleep. I took this medication the doctor gave me to sleep. I fell asleep. My daughter came over to visit, woke me up, and I looked down and I'm like, "Who stole my leg?" So,
the, the other night, my wife, she walked into the kitchen and I had my leg sitting against the refrigerator, the side, like propped up in there, and my leg was charging. And she saw it, and she was just like, "Oh," kind of like moved it out of the way. And she opened the refrigerator and then closed it back, got whatever she needed. And then when she went to walk out of the room, she tripped over it and almost busted her ass.
oh
And she
no.
was just like, "Oh my God." She's like, "That's crazy that you can trip me from like all the way across the house." She's like, "You're in a completely different room and you can still just be like, huh, gotcha." It's like, yeah, I mean, it ain't the greatest life, but we have our perks.
Yeah.
That's um are you happy with the components you have now? Like
I
your foot and everything? You're like everything's jiving like it should?
Yep, it's a very comfortable fit. I love it. And when my it was funny because my doctor at Vanderbilt that orders my parts, he when Nicole and I went to him and we told him we wanted to do this direct socket. And he told me, he says, "You won't like it." I said, "Well, I want to try." So what they did was they put a contingency in there. They did the direct socket, but with the contingency that if it didn't work, we would do a standard socket. Well, the first appointment I had with him after they did the direct socket, he says, "Well, how do you like the leg?" I said, "I absolutely love it. It feels like an extension of my real leg.
Nice.
And it's not loose, it don't twist. It Because it was literally custom built to my leg."
Yeah.
Gentleman asked me online the other day why I go through so many shrinkers. And I do because I wear a shrinker whenever the leg is off because I cannot afford to let it swell because it was custom built to my leg when it was back in October.
Yep.
So
So you do wear a shrinker all the time then.
I
That's
do.
wow. Okay. So, and is that just for because generally when we all wear shrinkers and stuff, it's to get prep for the leg,
Mm,
that kind of thing.
mhm.
So yeah, to hear somebody that actually still wears one and they're an active prosthetic user, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that before. So wow.
I wear it to keep my leg from swelling.
Yeah, no, I mean I get it. It makes sense. That totally makes sense. Huh. Maybe I should start doing that because I mean I've had the same issue. I have the BOA system on mine, so it's a little bit different.
Hmm.
Mine will actually like open up and stuff. So with the knobs and the wires and all that. You've seen my leg.
Matter of fact, hang on here.
Yeah.
This, I'm trying to figure out how to turn it so you can see the prosthetic.
Okay.
It's and that's where that soft rubber is right here.
Oh, I got you.
It's right around the top of the prosthetic.
So that's kind of like a boot that'll kind of shift around in there a
Hmm.
little bit.
Yep, a
Nice.
little bit.
Very cool. Or a shock absorber, something to that effect.
Exactly.
Right on, right on. So you don't have to really worry about crashing down or anything like that, or kind of, the pistoning as they call it.
Yeah, I don't get that. I
Nice.
used to with the lanyarded leg. I got it all the time,
Okay.
and I don't have it at all with this leg. And my daughter, when she came from Germany, We picked her up at the airport, and when we got home, she goes, "Mom, your breathing is terrible." And I said, "What?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "That noise." I said, "That's my leg. My leg was pistoning, and she thought it was me breathing."
Yeah, it does. It has a very, I've never thought about that. It has a very like kind of
Hmm.
kind of weird, kind of panting, moaning.
Yeah, she's like, "Mom, your
I've
breathing's
never thought
terrible." I'm
about
like,
that.
"No." So
Holy cow. That's all right. Right on. Um, whenever you, we all have our healing time, our sit around and poor little old me moments, that kind of stuff. I know you never really done that. You've pretty much taught me to be like I am. Excuse me. But whenever you're sitting around healing, that kind of stuff, we all watch Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, whatever. Um, well, a lot of us start to gravitate more towards your Footless Joes and your Ben Lavelles and your, all these bigger names on YouTube, that kind of stuff.
mhm.
Was there anybody or anything, any channels or anything that you found inspiring that you found yourself going back to, whether it be, YouTube, Instagram, or just a website or anything like that?
Not really.
No?
But there has been recently, there's a show that just came out this season. It's a brand new show. It's called Tracker. It's on CBS. And what impressed me about it was one of the actors is a double above knee.
Oh, wow.
And it's really cool to watch him do what he needs to do for the show. It's pretty cool.
I love that. I love that. We have I don't really like talking about next, upcoming guests with one on the panel, but I will say that we have Kurt Yeager. He's going to be coming on the show. I'll be doing an interview with him, and he's
Okay.
a below the knee amputee, but he's been on Sons of Anarchy, The Good Doctor. I mean, there's several shows that he's been on, so that'll be pretty cool. I love seeing that kind of stuff. It's super inspiring, and you know, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this. This
Yeah.
whole thing is spread awareness a little bit because again, it's a different lifestyle. That's for sure. That I don't think there is a whole lot of light shine on it or
Yep.
shine down on it.
I still have my moments where I have to stop and think and realize that this is it. It's not growing back. It's not going to be any different than it is right now. Get used to it.
Yep.
And that's what I did.
Yep, yep. And that's the one of the toughest things, man, is I talked about that with, in a previous episode is you can do anything you want as far as like, especially dealing with phantom pain. That's what we were talking about in this case is we were talking about phantom pain is, you can do the feather tickling your toe and the scratching your foot that's not there, and all that stuff. But you gotta until you've completely hardwired your brain, like kind of rewired everything to
Yep.
tell yourself it's gone. It's not coming back. This is over. It's done. We need to make a new plan and move on with that, you know.
That that's what I did when it first happened and I would get phantom pains. And I was telling myself, you can't possibly have pain. There is no limb there.
Yeah,
And it worked for a while. And it just takes to retrain your brain.
that's
Now, I
exactly right.
still have phantom pains. I don't have them very bad. I was very, very lucky. When I was in surgery having the amputation done, they actually called my youngest daughter and got permission to do, I forget the name, it's a T something or other, but it's a procedure they do to the nerves that was supposed to help phantom pain. And they called and got permission to do it. But then when I went for my follow up, I asked him about it, and he said, "No, we decided not to do it." I said, "Oh, okay." So I've had nothing done as far as the surgical to take care of the phantom pain. But my phantom pains, they hit and they might last 10, 15 seconds and then they
Okay.
stop.
That's kind
The
of the way
worst,
mine are.
yeah, the worst I get is a like a real hard tapping on the bottom of my foot that I don't have.
Okay.
And
Kinda like you stepped on a
sometimes
rock.
I'll get a Charlie horse and a calf I don't have. But
Yeah, I get the Charlie horse, and I get to where, like, it feels like your toe is trying to, like,
mm-hmm.
go underneath the other toe,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to, like, cross over,
Yep.
like, I get that a lot, but it's just like, "Oh, there's nothing to grab to make that, to make that go away. You
Yep.
know, that happened to me just the other night. Actually, I was laying in bed and it was just like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was just like, I mean, wide awake, and my toe was sitting there, literally felt like it was curling over on top of the other one. But when that's happening, you can't touch your foot. There's nothing you can do. So, what do? You just got to kind of, you just ride it out,
That, that's it. You just gotta write it out.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. I have one question that I always save to the end, and I always like to kind of cap it off with one final thought from the guest. In this case, Miss Robin, I will ask you, if you could go back and tell yourself, I'm talking like the night before your surgery, not, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, the
Mm,
night before your surgery and losing your foot, you you see, you already kind of had like a little bit of insight on what was coming your way anyway. So you already knew, all right, I've dealt with it with Rob. I know we're gonna have to get this, we're gonna have to do this, probably a lot of stuff you've already have in your house already.
yep.
So what would you tell yourself? What would Robin tell Robin if you could just lean down and be like, hey, just before you go into this, you're going to need to know, fill in the blank.
Take a deep breath. You got this.
Nice. Take a deep breath. You got this. I love
Yep.
that.
Yep.
That's what I love about you. You're quick to the point and just like that.
Yep.
You've
So,
always wondered about phantom pain. Yeah. Well, real quick, what I like to do at the end of the show is I like to take a few minutes and we can, let the guests ask questions, that kind of stuff. I
okay.
mean, sorry, you know,
The
the chat.
watchers,
Sorry,
yeah.
my bad. Yeah, the chat. I was reading questions when I was trying to talk. So, let me see. Boo boo here. My little buddy. So I've always wondered about phantom pain. Well, what have you always wondered about phantom pain? Because it's a very, very interesting phenomenon,
It
and
is.
it's very real. It's a lot of people don't think it's real. It's some kind of myth or whatever. It is very real.
Oh, yeah. I've had people ask me, do you get those ghost pains? Yes, I do. I sure do.
Yeah,
Like right now, I can feel my entire leg and I want to lift my toe, like I'm tipping the toe of my shoe up. But obviously, there's nothing there, so it won't move. And it drives me nuts because I can feel it, but it won't move.
yeah, absolutely. I'll be listening to a song and I can still feel my like I'm tapping my foot to the
Yep.
beat. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
you can feel your muscle actually flexing just like that. That kind of you know.
Yeah. It is definitely a very real phenomenon.
Yeah, for real, absolutely. It's the brain has not unwired itself to realize that there's not a limb there anymore. So it's starting to feel like old familiar feelings and stuff like that. And it's just like, oh, my leg's hurting, and you're like, no, it's not, because there's nothing there.
Yeah, I
And
don't
it
have
goes
one.
back to what you were saying is you have to tell yourself, look, it's gone. This is it. Let's see. Never had to deal with it, but when I was paralyzed last year, felt like I was moving my toes, but I wasn't. That is phantom
Sensations.
limb is what that's
Yep.
called. Yeah,
Yep.
that so just because you didn't lose that limb, that's exactly what that is. That your brain is still sending nerve signals to your feet and your toes are still going like this in your mind, and your muscles and stuff will still contract to a certain point, but your toes and your legs and your feet and stuff, they just don't move. So, but no, what you are feeling right there, buddy, it is phantom, or not phantom pain, but phantom limb. So
Phantom
it's,
limb.
yeah, it's the same thing. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Um, well, I'll ask one question to you, and how hard was it to adjust from getting home from the hospital, having a husband who's also a double amputee, and having to like kind of get back into the swing of things, with both of you now having, in that same kind of lifestyle.
I got very, very lucky in that when I lost my leg, my sister came from Oklahoma for 2 weeks And then right after she left, my niece came for 2 weeks. So for a month, we had help here at the house.
Nice. Nice.
And, once I got to where I was able to use the crutches and able to do things, I picked up my old position of taking care of Rob. I just did it. And, when we're out in public and he's got his wheelchair with him, which is foldable, he's got a foldable one. This was before the veterans got him the big one. And people would ask me, can I help you put that in the truck? And I'm like, nope, sorry, I got to do it myself. I have to learn how to do this.
Yep.
And I appreciate everybody's offers, but I had to learn how to do it. And you have to tell people, yeah, I need to do it myself. It's like I'm going to my sister's and I mentioned to her because her family has not dealt with an amputee before. They have no idea what to expect. And I told her, I says, just do me one favor. If I fall, do not try to help me up because I have a certain way that I get up off the floor and only I can do it. I don't want anybody else trying to reach out and grab me because then I'll fall again. So, and they've agreed. They said, okay, if you fall, we're just going to watch you get up. I said, good. That's what I want.
Yep. And
Well,
that's what
thank you,
makes.
Chanel.
There you go. Some great folks. Some great folks for sure. Some great folks. So let's see. We got had a few people come in here. Let's see, Mr. Terry. I see you up there, buddy. What's going on? Mr. Jonathan Evans. Good seeing you, my friend. The dude, Harley, Sunflower, Dragon, Crimson, my man. Right on. JM, Poser Exposer. What's up, brother? Well, that's awesome. That is fantastic, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on and hanging out with
Oh,
us and telling us your story. Again, it was I'm sure kind of strange because you and I actually do know each other really well. So,
yeah.
we're having to more or less pretend like we don't really know each other and that whole thing. But yeah, I can't thank you enough for coming on and just being a part of things. And it's been truly a good time. Have you had a good time today and enjoyed yourself? I sure hope so.
I have had a good time. And thank you, Chanel. I'm glad that you think that the younger generation could learn from me.
There you
And
go.
that's it. I'm all about education. Teach the people. Don't, you know, funny story. My phone fell one day and it called 911 and I couldn't get it to hang up. So when the lady answered at the call center, I explained to her, I said, ma'am, I don't have an emergency. My phone called 911 and I can't hang it up. I have to turn it completely off. She says, okay, I'll call an officer and let him know. Well, sure enough, I'm headed down the hall and Rob's going the other way. And all of a sudden I hear Rob go, honey, there's a sheriff at the door. So I go to the front door where Rob is standing and the cop's looking at us and he's looking at us and he goes, okay, I got to ask. And I says, he's been 6 years from a diabetes. I says, I've been a year and a half from a car wreck. I already knew what he was going to ask. He goes, you already knew what I was going to ask. I says, we get it every day.
Yeah, there's quite a few questions that we get. This is kind of like,
And a lot of people ask if Rob and I got together after the amputations, if it was, one amputee drawn to another. And I'm like, no, we've been married 34 years. It's
yeah,
just something that unfortunately happened to both of us.
yeah, and and you guys both. It's gonna sound weird. I really don't know how to put it, but you guys married all in one piece, correct? Like this happened
Yep.
throughout the span of you guys being
Yep.
together. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He was
So it,
still in the military. I was working for the military, but I was outside working as a private contractor with the DoD. And we did fine up until he lost his leg in 2017. And that's what started our first journey was when he lost his first leg. And I was terrified when the doctor said they had to take it. I started to tear up. And he's like, don't worry, babe, we're going to get through this. And we did. And then in January, he lost his second leg. And so when it came time for me to lose my leg, he was there for me.
yeah,
So it was definitely a journey.
yeah. You guys are awesome.
Well,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah, I love y'all so much. You know that though. So I ain't got to tell you that. You already know that. And thank you,
Uh,
buddy. I greatly appreciate you, man. You're
yeah,
that's awesome. You guys to say.
yeah.
Um, well, Miss Robin, again, I cannot thank you guys enough. Or I can't, both you guys, Rob and you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would love to have him on one day, and maybe he can come on and tell his story. I realize
I'll,
he's not as open and wants to chat about
yeah,
stuff as much.
he's a private person, but I'll ask him.
Yeah, yeah. So, and if not, I get it. And it is what it is. So, I always put it out there, and it's just like, if you want to do it, cool. If you don't, then hey, that's cool too. No worries. Nobody's
Yep,
making you do anything.
yep.
But having said that, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us today, and just coming to hang out with us, and
Not a
just
problem.
all around being my homie for many, many years. And I was super, super, super excited for everybody to meet you.
I
So
appreciate that.
yeah, I've been talking it up all week about, oh man, I'm
Yeah,
so excited. You guys got to come
yeah.
meet Miss Robin. She's awesome.
Well, I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
all right. So I do want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this show. I want to give a big shout out to Van Shoes, Taggart and Torrance podcast, Bulow Prosthetics, Major's Mess Hall podcast. Without them, the show wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be able to do this. So I want to, greatly thank them. I want to thank you, Miss Robin. Thank you guys in the chat, everybody that made it out tonight. Man, it means a lot that you guys are, coming to these things. You're taking them serious, and you're actually, chatting, asking questions, and learning something about a lifestyle that maybe you didn't know before.
Yeah.
So, having said that, I love you guys. Everybody, please drive safe.
Well, thanks for having me, Josh. We'll talk at you later.
Yes, ma'am.